I'm Alex Rodriguez.
And I'm Jason Kelly.
From Bloomberg, this is The Deal. Each week, you'll hear us in conversation with business icons.
This show will explore deal-making across sports, media, and entertainment.
That is a harsh lesson in business.
Sports is not as simple as bringing a bunch of big names together.
I didn't want to do another stomp you out speech.
It opened up so many more doors.
The show is called The Deal.
Listen to The Deal.
Listen to The Deal on Spotify.
Welcome into the 49er Access podcast. My name is Sterling Bennett, and it is official. The San Francisco 49ers have released Arik Armstead with a post-June 1st cut. They will save $18 million that cannot be accessible until June 2nd, but this is day 3 of NFL free agency, and the San Francisco 49ers arguably had their best day. In previous days, Leonard Floyd joined the team. Yetur Gross-Matos signed here. Both those deals yet to be called official just yet. This morning, though, 3 deals / restructures were made. At like 3 in the morning, this team signed linebacker Eric Kendricks, who we discussed pre-free agency might be a player to look out for, knowing his ties to Brandon Staley with the Chargers. And they also acquired Maliek Collins from the Texans for a 7th round pick later on in the day. In between those 2 deals, they restructured fullback Kyle Juszczyk, so the Juice will technically not be loose in free agency. He will be loose on the field again for the San Francisco 49ers, but the biggest move of the day was releasing Arik Armstead. It is official, like I already stated. The Niners have released Arik Armstead with a post-June 1st designation, freeing up $18 million on June 2nd. According to multiple reports, Arik Armstead is drawing interest from the Titans, Texans, Bengals, and Lions. Unfortunately for Arik Armstead, which I guess for many of us, when you lose your longest tenured 49er, someone that has been here since the Trent Baalke era. He is the last official piece of the Trent Baalke era. That's how long Arik Armstead's been here with the 49ers. He ended his tenure with San Francisco as the he's 10th all-time in franchise sacks. He is 2nd in playoff sacks and 26th in total franchise tackles. That's how good Arik Armstead's been in San Francisco, and that's how much it's going to sting to watch him walk out the door. But just like yesterday, we talked about how this team had actually gotten better from where they were to begin last season, and I can arguably say they might be a better team today than they were to end last season. That might sound insane. That might sound crazy. There are still 10 draft picks in their palm of their hand they can utilize in April. I'm sure many moves are still to come. One of them, maybe being Joey Bosa, may come as early as this weekend. I want to tell all of you, I will get to every single one of your comments if you put a comment in the chat on YouTube, X, or on Facebook. I will get there. Fluffy Ninja's in the chat saying, hello, big guy. What's going on, Fluffy? Fluffy also says, thank you for the positivity. Loves the show. Fluffy, I will say this, like you just said, you were feeling a little down towards this team. I'm here to bring you guys up and make you feel ready, because right now, today, albeit you lose the longest tenured Niner, it is officially the beginning of the 2024 season for the Red and Gold. It's brand new. San Francisco's 0-0. Last season doesn't matter anymore. We have our long view ahead towards getting back to the Super Bowl. Now, that's a long ways away, but it starts now. It starts with the restructures, the extensions, the small signings, the small trades, then the NFL draft, and San Francisco has put themselves in a place to make another run. It's a long ways away, a long season ahead, but as of right now, day 3 of training camp, free agency, they have put themselves in a good position to succeed. So let's dive into all the moves that transpired today, including the smallest ones. That means Colton McKivit's extension being official, $7 million through 2025. As of now, he is this team's starting right tackle. I do not expect that to remain. I think he'll become this team's swing tackle once the actual season and practices begin. George Odom's extension became official today as well, signed through 2026. A good number 3 safety, special teamer, former All-Pro. Makes a lot of sense to bring him back or extend him knowing the Hufanga injury. And then we also have one official signing as of right now. That is quarterback Brandon Allen. His 1-year deal became official today. $1.21 million base salary, $300,000 signing bonus, only $400,000 fully guaranteed, and a 1.51 2024 salary cap hit. And the reason why I bring this up is because David Lombardi of The Athletic does great work. Had, I think, one of the most telling and funniest notes I've ever seen for a team this good. A team that just went to the Super Bowl, and this stat will not remain the same once this year's over with, but after losing to Kansas City in February, it stinks, we all know this, but going into the offseason, Brock Purdy has arguably one of the cheapest contracts, probably still the cheapest contract for a starting franchise caliber quarterback, and now they have the cheapest, again, quarterback room in the NFL. Purdy's contract with Brandon Allen's new 1-year contract account for 0.89, not even 1% of the Niners' cap hit right now. They are spending a total of $2.5 million on quarterbacks. The rest of the NFL, $283.8 million. It pays to have the cheapest quarterbacks in football, and again, still, as of now, the best bargain deal in all of sports. Moving on here, like I already said, Kyle Juszczyk, he restructures his contract, frees up $1.75 million in cap space. Anyone who thought Kyle Juszczyk wasn't going to be here, if they told you that, if you thought that, I will tell you this team values fullbacks more than arguably anybody. It's a Kyle Shanahan system. There's a reason why you look elsewhere. A little bit with the Rams, the Dolphins for sure, the Ravens as well. Those teams value fullbacks. San Francisco values theirs more than anybody. Even with the restructure, Kyle Juszczyk remains the highest paid fullback in football. He essentially plays fullback. He also plays kind of a quasi tight end. Like Kyle Juszczyk does it all. There were even times last year he was going to be the emergency punt returner and emergency quarterback in 2022. Like, that's how valuable Kyle Juszczyk is to this roster. And again, Arik Armstead, a post-June 1st release with $18 million coming off the clock, or off the books, for cap space on June 2nd. So let's dive into the signings and the acquisitions they made today. And I will further tell you as to why they are better now than they were to end last season. And I think San Francisco has put themselves in a place not to just contend this year, but maybe even next year as well, despite having to pay Brock Purdy. So, okay, we have talked, if you've been here the entire offseason, we have talked about the plan. What has been the blueprint offseason for the Niners? Yes, there's a handful of months to go before OTA's minicamp start. We know this, but what has been kind of the idea we've discussed? It has been loading up on defense and free agency. Leonard Floyd, Gross Matus, this morning, Eric Kendricks, Maliek Collins. Then we also said getting rid of Arik Armstead. That was one of the things we talked about. Hey, this is going to happen this offseason. And then we also said drafting a right tackle in the first round. If you look at what they've done so far, 2 of those things have already come to fruition. We're just waiting for April when pick 31 comes along, if they don't trade up, to say, hey, San Francisco picks insert right tackle. Now, I don't say that to toot my own horn here, albeit congratulations to me, but I say that to say that what San Francisco has been doing has been clear as day. Has been abundantly obvious if you've been paying attention, reading tea leaves, reading Mike Silver, reading Tim Kawakami. This is what they've been saying was going to happen. This is what they've been kind of hinting at all offseason long for San Francisco. And when you put 2 and 2 together, voila, here we are. So what did San Francisco do at like 3 a.m.? I had been a little bit sick the past couple days, and I woke up at 3 a.m. saying, you know what? I'm going to check my phone. I was coughing. I was like, oh, I don't feel good. I'm going to check my phone. I'm going to check Twitter, check X to see what San Francisco may have done. And lo and behold, I see the Adam Schefter tweet saying the San Francisco 49ers have signed linebacker Eric Kendricks to a 1-year deal. And if you've watched the show, when we previewed free agency, it was Eric Kendricks and Jordan Hicks who I said, hey, these are two veteran linebackers that make a lot of sense for this team. Hicks signed elsewhere, but Eric Kendricks made a lot of sense. He was a captain in his first and only season with the Chargers. He has ties to Brandon Staley, and with Dre Greenlaw's health being up in the air, I know all the reports say he's supposed to be ready for week 1. I just think for San Francisco, you not only add depth for a year, you also insulate yourself, but you also give yourself a starting caliber linebacker that can actually perform well in pass coverage and doesn't miss tackles. What plagued the Niners defense this past year? Even guys like Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw were missing more tackles than usual. What did Eric Kendricks do with the Chargers? Okay, so Dre Greenlaw, one of the best pass covering linebackers in football. Who is Eric Kendricks? Eric Kendricks started 14 games last year for LA, had 117 tackles, and didn't allow a single touchdown on 465 coverage snaps last year for the Chargers. Okay, wow. Excellent pass covering linebacker. He was the same guy he was in Minnesota, where he was, I think, a Pro Bowler. Don't forget, Eric Kendricks was the linebacker that picked off Jimmy Garoppolo in 2019, I think in the divisional round at Levi Stadium, which was kind of the final straw for Kyle Shanahan's trust in Jimmy G during that playoff run. That's Eric Kendricks. Like, that, the connections are everywhere in good and bad ways for his time in San Francisco. It makes a lot of sense. Okay, he's an amazing pass covering linebacker. He should be able to step in and at least be adequate in filling Dre Greenlaw's shoes in pass coverage. What about missed tackles? Eric Kendricks got released by the Chargers. He will not add or equate to giving an opposing team, or he's not going to factor into the compensatory picks in San Francisco. That's great. What's even better is he had a 6% missed tackle rate this year, the lowest of his career. On a team that at times likes to play 3 linebackers, the 4-3 defense, when they aren't playing nickel, okay, if Dre Greenlaw becomes healthy again, becomes Dre Greenlaw like we know again, becomes starting caliber again off the Achilles tear, what does Eric Kendricks now do? In your base defense, you get to insert not Oren Burks. You get to insert not Demetrius Flanagan-Falls, who, if one of those guys comes back, great, be a special teamer. But you get to now insert in Burks' spot Eric Kendricks, who in 456, whatever it was, coverage snaps, didn't allow a single touchdown. For watching Burks get burnt alive to a crisp in the Super Bowl by Travis Kelce, I'm not going to say Kendricks would lock down Kelce. He will certainly fare better if they meet again in the playoffs. And he's not going to have this insane missed tackle rate. What plagued this defense all last year? It was horrible run defense, and when your run defense stinks, they can't tackle. What does Eric Kendricks do? He at least brings you excellent pass coverage, and he does not miss tackles. 6% missed tackle rate, the best of his career. His previous low was 6.9. He bested that in his 30s. What a great signing at a 3 a.m. time slot on the Pacific West Coast. To wake up to that news was like, great. You brought in Floyd. You brought in Yetur Gross-Matos. We discussed the fits for them in this defense, how they've already made this defense better. Would they bring in Jordan Elliott yesterday too? three guys you say, wow, there's improvements there to depth and the starting level. Then you sign Eric Kendricks, who, on paper, inserts next to Warner when Greenlaw is out. When Greenlaw comes back, becomes a much improved third linebacker spot where Oren Burks played last year. Like, Niner fans should be extremely excited for Eric Kendricks in this defense. Now, again, I am someone who would say, you bring back Oren Burks. Be my 4th, 5th, 6th linebacker behind Winters and Graham. Be my special teams ace. That's fine. Even if they bring those guys back, you've at least improved your depth to guard the middle of the field, where you're already excellent at. You now have 3, not just starting caliber, but 2 all-pro linebackers once Greenlaw gets healthy with Warner and Greenlaw, and you have an adequate starting linebacker amongst those 2 guys now that are already great themselves. I love the Eric Kendricks signing. We have no idea how much it'll cost them, but it's 1 year. I'm sure it's relatively cheap, not too much money, but it's a great signing if you are the San Francisco 49ers. Fluffy Ninja again says he thought they were going to lose Kyle Juszczyk. What does San Francisco value? Trenches and offensively running the football. I never once believed Juszczyk was going to go, but I do understand when you heard the news Armstead's not taking a pay cut, he going to be gone. Then the next report was they asked Juszczyk the exact same thing. It was, is he going to be gone too? But I do think San Francisco looked at that and said, hey, we value Kyle too much. And he only took like a 1.7 pay cut. Like, that's not a lot of money. Like, that's being a little fickle with the salary cap, but I digress. It's not my money, so who cares? Melvin McGee says, bang, bang, Niner gang. That should be the feeling today for all Niner fans. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Because what they did today, and this will get us to the Maliek Collins acquisition, because what they did today was not only impressive, it was important to the betterment and health of this team. So, around 10:45-ish, the San Francisco 49ers traded a 7th round pick for defensive tackle Maliek Collins from the Houston Texans. Collins himself is a former 3rd round pick, had 107 tackles the past 3 seasons for Houston. In those 3 years, also had 35 quarterback hits, so just over 10 per season. Had 26 tackle for losses and 11 sacks. Very, very impressive acquisition for San Francisco on a simple box score on Pro Football Reference. But here's the thing with Collins. You then pair him with Hargrave, things get really exciting. I think the Jordan Elliott acquisition, that signing, was a run defense. Let's beef up the middle. That's your run defense guy. Now you have Maliek Collins, who is good enough in run defense, but is a much more efficient pass rusher. Where if you want to run a NASCAR package that has Bosa and Hargrave and Collins and Gross Matos and Leonard Floyd, I mean, watch out quarterbacks. And if you do eventually sign Joey Bosa, quarterbacks, watch out. There are certain areas that you point to and say, what are strengths of this team? Coming into free agency, it was very daunting of like, oh my goodness, Armstead's going to get cut, Kinlaw's going to be gone, Chase Young's going to be gone, Gregory's out the door, Kevin Gibbons is gone as well. Like, there were so many holes they had to fill, and what they've done so far has been mightily impressive. And again, darn near an improvement, if not a guaranteed improvement over who they had last year. Back to Collins. Collins had 5 sacks, 48 pressures, and the 12th highest pass rush win rate amongst defensive tackles in 2023. Again, you add in Hargrave, they have 2 guys inside the top 6 in pass rush win rate since 2021. They essentially have 2 top 5 pass rushing defensive tackles. Quarterbacks! Like, you are making yourself more feared when it comes to attacking the quarterback, moving the pocket around. There are still some statuesque quarterbacks in the NFC. But in a game where the quarterbacks are becoming increasingly mobile, you have your Kyler Murrays, your Geno Smiths. Stafford's more of a statue guy, but then you are going to go into a draft that has Caleb Williams. Where's Justin Fields going to go? Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, amongst many others. You have to be effective in the pass rushing game. You add in Nick Bosa, Hargrave, Maliek Collins, who is again a top 6 pass rushing effective defensive tackle next to Gross Matos, next to Leonard Floyd, and if you get lucky on a cheap deal, next to Joey Bosa. Like, you have yourself something that is really special and one of the best, if they perform up to par, defensive lines in football when it comes to getting to the quarterback.
I'm Alex Rodriguez.
And I'm Jason Kelly.
From Bloomberg, this is The Deal. Each week, you'll hear us in conversation with business icons.
This show will explore deal making across sports, media, and entertainment.
That is a harsh lesson in business.
Sports is not as simple as bringing a bunch of big names together.
I didn't want to do another stomp you out speech.
It opened up so many more doors.
The show is called
The Deal.
Listen to The Deal.
Listen to The Deal on Spotify.
I know yesterday Matt Maiocco tweeted out, and it's nothing against him, but he tweeted out that the Jordan Elliott signing was the Arik Armstead replacement. Now, maybe that was tongue-in-cheek, but I will say this. The Maliek Collins trade is the Arik Armstead replacement. Not only are you paying Maliek Collins $8.5 million this year, $6 million guaranteed, he's also under contract next year for $10 million, nothing guaranteed. So essentially it's a $1 million, it's a 1 year deal. They have nothing tied to him next year, but if they wanted to, they can restructure him, move some of that cap down the line, even move some of that cap this year to next year. They have that cap flexibility with him now, or they bring him in and he stinks, goodbye. All that to say, I don't think he's going to be bad. I don't think they're going to have to worry about, is he not going to perform? Since 2002, that's a long ways away. Since 2022, Maliek Collins has 85 quarterback pressures, 16 quarterback hits, and 8.5 sacks. My goodness. Like, this guy, he's a vet. He was a Dallas Cowboys 3rd round pick, went to Houston, been in Texas his whole life, coming to the West Coast, flown under the radar in both of these places, was good last year for Houston, good the last 3 years for Houston. Now he comes to San Francisco, and it's like, they may have themselves the steal when it comes to trades of free agency so far. And I hate to do this, but when you compare him to Arik Armstead, because that's who he's replacing, right? Like, they're losing a leader, a Walter Payton Man of the Year, a locker room guy, and a talented player on the defensive line in Arik Armstead. But let's look at these two guys just when it comes to on-the-field play. Arik Armstead, in 343 pass rushes last year with San Francisco, had 30 pressures, 17 quarterback hits, 6 quarterback knockdowns, 5 sacks, and a 9.3 pressure percentage. It's not bad. You will take that from Arik Armstead. Now look at Maliek Collins, who you are paying like $9 million less than you were scheduled to pay Arik Armstead this year. Maliek Collins, in 420 pass rushes with the Texans, okay? So just under, 80 more attempts than Armstead. He had 43 pressures, 13 more pressures than Armstead, 25 quarterback hits, 8 more quarterback hits than Armstead, 11 quarterback knockdowns, 5 more quarterback knockdowns than Arik Armstead. He had 5 sacks, equal to Armstead's total, and an 11.1 pressure percentage. That's higher than Armstead. They got a cheaper, younger, under contract, and more durable version than Arik Armstead on the roster now. What San Francisco did today may go down as the steal of trades in regards to free agency. What an excellent move by John Lynch and company. And here's the thing, is that this move may not have even been possible had the Texans not signed Denico Autry yesterday. Me and you, we all talked about that Denico Autry could be a target for San Francisco. He's an inside guy, can also play outside. Excellent older defensive tackle / edge rusher. The Texans signed him yesterday. What did that do? It made Maliek Collins expendable, and when you have ties to Houston, you have ties to Washington, to Miami, those ties work both ways. They can take your guys, sure. Clelin Ferrell went to Washington. The Dolphins took Trent Sherfield, River Craycraft, Raheem Mostert. Last year, Houston took Jimmy Ward away. This year, we got Maliek Collins from Houston. And as all the numbers may say, they got younger, better, durable, and more productive, going from Armstead, who was great. Respect him. I hope he ends up somewhere and eventually gets a ring. He is going to be in this gigantic group of Niners that were great in a uniform here, but never got a ring. It sucks that just like Joe Staley, his last game in San Francisco, he walked off the field as a loser in the Super Bowl. That sucks. That hurts. But Maliek Collins is productive enough to almost make you forget Arik Armstead exists. And many of you already didn't even like Armstead. On the field, I'll add to that. Maliek Collins is not going to be invisible. At least his track record would indicate he won't be. And I think this is going to be the best defensive line he's ever played with Nick Bosa, with Javon Hargrave, with Floyd, Gross-Matos, and maybe even Joey Bosa. The more talent they add, the more productive they should be, because it'll give someone like Collins a one-on-one. It'll give Floyd, Gross-Matos, guys that have been productive and durable elsewhere, to come in here and say, hey, not only do I have more talent around me than I've ever had, I also have the best defensive line coach in football, Chris Kocurek, teaching me how to get better. Like, San Francisco had a hard time last year finishing off quarterbacks. Pause. But finishing off sacks against quarterbacks. During their 3-game losing streak against the Bengals, the Vikings, and the Browns, he only had 5 sacks in 3 games. With this defensive line that was healthy during that stretch. This defensive line now is going to eat, or at least should eat, quarterbacks alive. Especially ones that are statues. But even so, against mobile quarterbacks, should be able to get home and finish the job off as well. We have some comments here, and I do think that this next comment will lead us into our next topic in 1 second. Bobo, always in the chat, thank you so much. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I promise I will get to them. But Bobo here says, I believe Joey Bosa will be a Niner for the 2024 season. He's on the thumbnail for a reason, folks. We will talk about Joey Bosa in 1 second. I do want to reiterate one point here, because when you walk into free agency, and you're going to lose players like Arik Armstead, like Chase Young, like Kinlaw, Clelin Ferrell, Randy Gregory and Givens are both still free agents. When you're going to lose 5 guys, 6 guys you point to and say, man, these guys were not just impactful, they were important to who we were as a defense. You walk in and say, man, how are we going to replace them? You know, San Francisco watched a bunch of big names leave. And they added Leonard Floyd, Jordan Elliott, Yetur Gross-Matos, Maliek Collins. Okay? Just those guys. And guess what? They've added 101 career sacks to their roster this year. That is already a +6 sack difference to their defensive line's resume than last year at the end of the season. Sure. Sacks aren't everything. Sacks are it's one stat in the box score. But what does it tell you? These guys can get home, they have motors, they don't quit, and they are efficient and effective. Excuse me. San Francisco did their due diligence at getting younger, faster, stronger, more productive, and cheaper. And they're paying Leonard Floyd $10 million a year on average. Maliek Collins only has $6 million guaranteed this year. They were going to pay Arik Armstead $28 million against the cap and $17 total in regards to money this year alone. Like, what they have done has, at least in regards to just sacks, which I think everybody likes when your defense gets sacks, which again, isn't everything. No one's saying it is, but oh my God, have they found themselves guys that can actually get to the quarterback and take them down. And when you can sack quarterbacks, you can get home, you flush them out of the pocket, they make mistakes, you get your defense more turnovers, more takeaways, and if you can sack the quarterback, it puts the opposing teams in second and long, third and long. It makes them have to punt more, and when they punt or turn the ball over more, 1 + 1 = 2, you give your offense that averaged nearly 30 points a game last year a chance to put up even more points. What a great offseason for San Francisco. There's questions, sure. Can Yetur Gross-Matos be the Charles Omenihu? Yeah. What if one of these guys gets hurt? That's always going to be a question mark. But as of right now, when you haven't even stepped foot on the field to prove any of the worth you may have next to your name, they've gotten a lot better on paper. A lot better on paper. And if they add our next topic, Joey Bosa, they're going to have, I believe the number is 158 sacks to their resume. Like, what? You're going to add 158 sacks to your resume and add a darn near, 65+ sack differential if you add Joey Bosa from the end of last year to the beginning of this year. Again, sacks aren't everything, but it's extremely impressive what they've been able to do. Niner fans should be hyped for what they've done so far, and they still have 10 draft picks to go, which gets to Bobo's point here. So, do you believe we'll draft offensive linemen with our first picks of the draft? 2 of them at least. So, I've long stated that the point or the plan, I believe, is to retain John Feliciano, have him be your right guard, go into next year with Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel, John Feliciano, and a first-round pick right tackle, which, if my predictions so far, which 2 of the 3 have been correct, if it stays true, that's going to happen. Then your bench, your depth behind your starting 5 become Jalen Moore, Ben Barch, Nick Zakel, Spencer Burford, Colton McKivitz, and insert, 3rd-round pick, 4th-round pick, guard/center. They're going to go into next year with a much improved trenches, defense and offensive. And they have 10 draft picks, and free agency is only in day 3. Once they free up the $18 million, or once they get the $18 million post-June 1st from Armstead, they can extend Ayuk. They can hopefully extend Juwan Jennings. They can free up more money to have for next year, sure. But if there's somebody out there, a vet guy, a vet guard, vet tackle, they're going to be able to bring in a lot of bodies. And I'd be really, really excited for this group this year. I know I'm being overly excited, but I do think I don't want to ignore the fact that San Francisco, through 3 days of free agency, through 2.5 days of free agency, I think has knocked this thing out of the park. We will get to next year when next year happens. We're going to knock this thing out of the park. I love what they've done. I think they have, if you want to call them winners and losers, I think they've won a lot of in free agency. I think San Francisco deserves their flowers in what they've done so far. I love it. I think they've done a great job for what they've been asking people to do. See if I can figure out the Wi-Fi here for a second. It's gone off. Hopefully we can get this fixed now. But I do think San Francisco has won. I do think the Niners look back and say, man, like what we had ahead of us, like we faced that head on and we won. I do want to move on to Joey Bosa though, because I do think Joey Bosa is the hot ticket topic. Everybody wants to talk about Joey Bosa, and I get it. Why wouldn't you? Joey Bosa, to me, will be, in my opinion, or has a high chance to be a San Francisco 49er by this weekend. That depends on a few things to occur. It isn't as simple as going and getting Joey Bosa. There are a handful of things that need to happen for that to occur. But I do think that when you look at the Chargers situation, despite them being cap compliant as of right now, the Chargers face this Friday a very big question. Do you want to pay Joey Bosa a $7 million roster bonus? I would assume the Chargers will say no. I would like to think that if they're smart, it's Jim Harbaugh, it's the Niners regime over there now with the Chargers. They like Joey Bosa. They'd love to keep him. But they also restructured Khalil Mack's contract today, giving them cap flexibility in hopes eventually they can trade him either during the year or next season. Joey Bosa has not been restructured, and why would you give somebody else $7 million when you know they're not going to play for you? I don't know about you. I'm not in the business of giving up nearly $10 million to a person I know is not going to play for me. So I think Joey Bosa will get released this weekend, either Friday or Saturday, Sunday. I think he'll be gone. Now, all that to say, I am someone who has publicly stated I would not sign or trade for Joey Bosa. Now, let me explain my thought process here. Because the Niners, when they have acquired people like Joey Bosa, Dee Ford, it's just insanely productive players. This isn't like any of the previous examples of getting somebody you like, paying a big money. This is a, hey, we can only acquire you if you are coming here on an extremely cheap, team-friendly deal. Now, I get Joey Bosa. He wants to play with Nick. Cheryl Bosa's on social media every day saying, Joey, come to San Francisco, play with Nick. She wants it to happen. Joey Bosa has said he wants it to happen. You see Joey Bosa in the game at the Link in the playoffs in Philadelphia rocking a full-on Niners jacket rooting on his brother Nick. He's unafraid to don the red and gold while he's under contract for an opposing team. Joey Bosa, I do believe, would like to be a 49er. I would not be surprised if they're the favorites to land Joey Bosa. But should they acquire Joey Bosa? Bosa has been one of the more tantalizing edge rushers in his career. There's high productive value. Like, the talent is there. Like, he is, again, one of the best, when healthy, edge rushers in the entire league. Just take 2 years ago. 2022. He was, in the entire league, the number 3 highest pass rush win rate. Insanely productive. You add that player next to Nick Bosa, with Leonard Floyd, with Gross Matos, with Collins and Hargrave. I mean, Jesus. Quarterbacks will be running for their lives if you add that player. The issue is, there's no promise you get that player. And there are many similarities to Christian McCaffrey and Joey Bosa. Because when San Francisco acquired Christian McCaffrey, what was one of the main topics? If he stays healthy, if he stays healthy, if he stays healthy. And there are many reasons to kind of look at it and go, did they overpay? We've all seen the ESPN, this is a C-, C+ trade, and in 2 years' time we laugh at that and say, what an idiot, right? But unlike Christian McCaffrey, who had just 2 years of really bad injury history, Joey Bosa's entire career has essentially been injury after injury after injury, IR stint after IR stint for the Chargers. Again, super productive. But take the past 2 years alone. He's missed 20 games. 20 games. Now, I don't know how much you buy into this, but Draft Sharks dives into the percentage of likeliness a player gets hurt. Now, they use it as we'll miss 2 quarters, so take it with a grain of salt, but Joey Bosa has an 89% chance via Draft Sharks to miss at least 2 quarters this year. That is someone you do not pay big money to. That is someone the Chargers are trying to move off of. All that to say, why not? And the only reason why I say why not is because let's say Joey Bosa will say, you know what? I know that my market isn't as big as it might be.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Big as it maybe should be because I've been productive in previous seasons. I'll take a 1-year, 2-year, cheap deal, play next to my brother. I'm only 28 years old, mind you. I'm not 33 like Khalil Mack is. I'll take a 2-year cheap deal, play next to my brother Nick, and I'll give myself the best chance to win. I don't have to play Mahomes twice anymore. I don't have to play, the AFC quarterbacks of Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. I get to play Matthew Stafford, Kyler Murray, and Geno Smith twice a year. Why would you say no to that? Maybe it's a 1-year deal. Boost up that value, my friend. Give a 1-year deal shot in San Francisco next to your brother. You don't have to do it 4 or 5 years. How about 1 year? How about a 1-year, $8 million deal like Maliek Collins, $6 million guaranteed, pretty cheap. You get your money. You're going to get paid bank by the Chargers anyways. Take a cheap deal. Everyone's talking about what Russell Wilson did with the Steelers. The Broncos cut Wilson, are paying him just a ton of money. He goes to Pittsburgh on a vet min deal. If that's what Joey Bosa wants to do, and you come on down, my friend, I will drive myself to the airport for you. Because behind Joey Bosa, and here I think is why San Francisco, I don't think they planned ahead for this, but I do think they did plan with this in mind. They would go into the year perfectly okay with Leonard Floyd being their edge rusher opposite Nick Bosa. They'd go into the year okay with Yetur Gross-Matos on this defensive line being a key piece in it. I believe that. But I do think they monitored, like Diana Rossini said yesterday on KMBR, it's not a pipe dream. They have been monitoring Joey Bosa for a while, waiting to see what the Chargers do. Like, they have been in on Joey Bosa. I would not be surprised come Saturday, Sunday, Monday, sometime soon, if Joey Bosa's cut, they sign him to a 1, 2, cheap year deal, raise his value up. He can hit free agency once he's 30 years old, which is not that old at all. Hopefully he can stay healthy, and if he does miss time, if he does get hurt, look who's behind him. Leonard Floyd, who hasn't missed a game in 6 years. Maliek Collins, who's played 14-plus games in 6 of 8 seasons. Eric Kendricks, who's played 14-plus games in 7 of 9 seasons. And Jordan Elliott, who hasn't missed a game in 2 years. And that's excluding who they can add in the draft. Now, I'm not saying Bosa is the end-all, be-all. What I'm saying is he might be the cherry on top of this edge rushing group. And again, I mentioned the number earlier. Right now, you have 101 career sacks on the resume of your edge rushing core, Bosa, Floyd, and others, right? In that room now, a +6 sack differential. If you get Joey Bosa, you add not only a player that can win opposite Nick Bosa one-on-one, that has pass rushing moves to win against top-tier right and left tackles in football. You also bring in a player that will give your entire edge rushing group 168 sacks on the resume, a +73 differential from last year's squad to end the season. It may not happen, but it certainly is interesting. It certainly intrigues me, and I would assume yourself as well. Like, if you walked into OTA's minicamp with the group you have now, insert rookies here or there, right? I think we're all okay. Cool. We all talked about how what San Francisco has done, like last year, was they walked into the season, Drake Jackson, Clelin Ferrell, and said, hey, it's not great. We'll see what happens. But if we can improve during the year, because of the money we freed up with restructures to Kittle, Mooney Ward, then Arik Armstead, and others, it gives us a chance to acquire players mid-season. Insert Gregory, insert Chase Young. San Francisco already has that flexibility because they're going to get $18 million post-June 1st in Armstead, and that's pre-Ayuk extension. They're already going to have the ability to add people in the season. So, we're cool. We're set. Now put Joey Bosa in that grouping, where if he goes down for a week or so, maybe misses a month or more, you have Leonard Floyd, who had 10.5 sacks last year. Sure, maybe he isn't a 1B. Maybe he isn't a 2. But if that's your 3, this room becomes the best, at its healthiest, the best defensive line pass rushing group in football. Sure, it isn't TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. It's the Bosa brothers. They got to stay healthy. But I do think they can use Joey in a rotation with Floyd, Gross-Matos, and other players. Drake Jackson, once he comes back healthy. Like, I don't know if that's the move, but it's certainly interesting. It's certainly tantalizing to think about, hey, if Joey wants to be here for a year, it's a 1-year deal. Make it happen. You're going to have the funds. You can extend Mooney Ward. You can extend Ayuk. You can get this thing done for 1 year. They've all talked about, hey, we have a very short window pre-Brock Purdy extension. You want to maximize that window? Go get Joey Bosa. He's got to stay healthy. I'm someone who said I wouldn't trade for him. And if he wants big money, sorry, buddy, you're not coming here. But if he'll take a cheap 1-year deal to play next to Nick, to play on this defensive line, while we would still likely have the ability to go and acquire other pieces in case he goes down, like, oh man. I mean, you're going to leave me breathless. CG Ruthless says, what's going on, CG? Niners will go bargain bin signing for now, more like short-term Band-Aids. So, CG, my question is, what Band-Aids do they have to make? So, they need a cornerback, right? Probably a safety, I would assume, so they were already sniffing around the market pre-Odom extension. The offensive line, I think, gets fixed via the draft. There aren't many Band-Aids, unless you mean, like, bring back Kevin Givens, a 1-year deal to insert depth edge rusher somewhere else. Kind of like that Arden Key, Clelin Ferrell kind of deal. I already think that was Gross-Matos. They can get deeper for sure. Like last year they had Kerry Hyder in the room. Like they had other vets that would make sense to acquire that didn't actually make the team. They do need to still add on the interior, mind you. Hargrave, Collins, Kalia Davis, and Jordan Elliott are not enough. But again, you have 10 picks in the draft. You can add some cheap guys. Like they have, I think they have T.Y. McGill is still here. Like they have some people in place that have been somewhat effective off the bench. But they also have like 61 people on the roster. They're going to fill it to 90 come like May. Like they got a lot of ways to go. And 10 of those are going to come via the draft. So I'm not saying pay big money for Bosa. I'm saying you give me a 1-year cheap deal. If he can stay healthy, you are getting one of the most effective, efficient, the best. Like, right now, you already have the most productive and consistent edge rusher opposite Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd. Imagine adding Joey Bosa to that grouping. Like, I'm just in my head imagining, here comes Nick Bosa off one edge. Here comes Joey off the other. They combine for a sack. They do a double shrug. And somehow, like, rainbows start appearing and fire come. Like, it's going, the vibes are going to be immaculate. Like, I'm a big Dragon Ball Z guy. It's going to be a freaking fusion, and they're going to turn into one player. You're going to say, oh my God, they went Super Saiyan on Patrick Mahomes. Like, they're going to do a little dance and put their hands together. Like, they're going to have the earrings on. Like, what the heck's going on, man? Like, we're seeing some Dragon Ball Z stuff happening when Joey and Nick combine for a sack. Like, that to me, just for the vibes and visual alone, like on Instagram, I'm already thinking, how can I edit Joey Bosa into a Niner jersey? That way they're facing each other, both shrugging. Like, that to me is like, let's go. Like, I don't care if Joey plays one game. If it happens once, like, like, you're going to see me jump through my TV screen. You're going to see me jump through my TV screen. Like, that would be awesome. There really isn't much more to say. If you have any more questions or comments, it's day 2.5, day 3 of NFL free agency. And I think so far, yesterday, some people in the chat were saying, oh, it's a C-, it's a C+ free agency so far. How do you feel today? Feels kind of like a B+. I won't go A+ or A-, but through 2.5, 3 days, and according to Mike Silver, they ain't done. If they get Joey Bosa, it's a risk, sure, but if they get Joey Bosa, what would that make this offseason for you? They already gotten better. Not name value-wise, but production, health, durability. They've already gotten better than last year. If they get Joey Bosa, they get that name-valued player on defense, then they have 10 draft picks? I mean, isn't that exactly what we all want? You want the depth, the underbelly, the trenches to be strong and nasty and dirty and just durable, like we can beat anybody. And you also want your star talent above them. If you walked into this year with Joey and Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave, and this, as it stands now, defensive line, with Warner and Eric Kendricks and eventual healthy Dre Greenlaw, I mean, it's hard to argue this defense has not gotten better, despite it also being cheaper. All I'm saying is Niner fans, like Fluffy Ninja, who was feeling down yesterday. I know we got a 17-game season, plus playoffs. It's a long ways to go. It's a grueling season. Guys get hurt, guys get injured, some guys play down, some guys surprise you. There's still holes to fill. Kick returner, punt returner. You have to re-sign Jawan Jennings. Agate's got a tenure. They want to bring that cap money down. You can re-sign some guys. You can extend guys. There's so many more moves to be made. But through 2.5 days, 3 days, this is a B+ offseason so far. In a year where you have every right to feel sad and down and like, oh man, we lost a 3rd Super Bowl. You can't tell me you ain't hyped for this year now. Like right now, today, as of 1 p.m., you are sitting in the 2024 season. San Francisco is 0-0 tied for first place in the NFC West, tied atop the NFC for number 1 in the entire conference. And they got better than last year on paper. I don't know what to tell you. Like, that to me is awesome. I think they've given Chris Kocurek a defensive coach's wet dream, to be honest with you. Like, he doesn't go tonight being like, oh, Joey Bosa, oh, Maliek Collins, oh, like you're going to see some magic in that bed of Chris Kocurek, because my God, like, you can talk to every team in football. They will tell you, hey, what San Francisco just did, I don't know how they got away with that, but it's impressive. It hurts to lose Armstead. It does. Been here since Trent Baalke. Like, what the heck? It hurts to lose Buckner and Armstead and plenty of other guys. Jimmy Ward last year. It hurts to lose vets we all care about. But if, let's say, we're the number 1 seed again this year and maybe we finish the job, who knows? Like, there really isn't much more to say on the topic than San Francisco on paper has gotten better and can still improve. If they go into the draft and they get a really good receiver, they get the number 2 tight end, they add an edge rusher, they add a first-round right tackle, but the offensive line looks better, the defense gets better than it is now. You add a number 2, number 3 cornerback in this grouping. Like, San Francisco can easily feel, I think has felt, the Trey Lance miss of a draft pick. But in that same breath, you can also say, but look what they've done. They lost to Kansas City again. Heartbreaker, overtime, second ever overtime Super Bowl lost. But they may have gotten better and cheaper. Like, it sounds weird, but like, all of those statements can be true at the same time. They whiffed on Trey Lance. They got to pay Brock Purdy. They're losing Armstead. There's so many things to be negative. And most NFL teams kind of think in the now. And San Francisco views this year as their last gigantic big swing pre-Brock Purdy extension to say, hey, like, if we're going for it, let's get a little younger, let's get more durable, get more productive, and let's go out fighting at least one more time. That's San Francisco. So, Niner fans, faithful, don't be sad. Don't say, well, they don't have a star. The Texans got Daniel Hunter. Oh, man, I wish we got him. I get Joey Bosa. Oh, depth you've already acquired. Along with the stubborn you've already acquired. Like, this is already a fun, and their draft ain't even here yet, and it's not even Thursday or Friday yet. That is awesome. That's all I have for you today, folks. Hope you have a wonderful day 2.5, day 3 of NFL free agency. Go out there and pop some bottles, pop some champagne. No, you don't win games in March, but you can certainly be happy of what your team has done. Every single update that comes out for this team, rumors, reports, all of it you can find on our social media at 49ers_access is the X or Twitter. 49ers.access is the Instagram. And you can use our promo code 49ERSACCESS, 49 ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com. Save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Again, on SeatGeek.com. Baseball games, football games, basketball games, concerts. Use that promo code. Save yourself $20 off. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave that review. It's a free, easy way to help the show. Bobo, thank you for watching as well. I enjoy doing this. I'm not going to stop doing this. And hopefully you will not stop watching. Again, the best way to know when we're going live or doing shows, like, share, subscribe, review, turn notifications on. And as always, as every time we end the show, what do we say? Until next time, stay faithful.